Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Jen.
Robert Carnahan.
Here.
John Foreman.
Present.
Julia Rivera. Here. Ralph Miller.
Present.
Randy Niemeyer.
Present.
Colleen Scheeben. Yes, here. Richard Sharp.
Here.
I am present. Rick Everly.
Present.
David Austin.
Present. Thank you. New business, approval of the minutes for September 21st, 2021. Do we have a motion to accept and waive the reading of those minutes?
So moved.
Motion by Randy,
I'll second.
second by Colleen. Roll call, Jen?
Robert Carnahan.
Yes.
John Foreman.
Yes.
Julia Rivera. Yes. Randy Niemeyer.
Yes.
Colleen Scheeben. Yes. Ralph Miller.
Yes. Oh,
Richard Sharp.
yes. Number two.
Can you answer for me?
Yeah, sorry, Ralph. Adjustment to the Lakedale Regional Waste District capacity billing costs.
We've had a couple of discussions about this at our last two meetings, and Sue and I had a chance to meet with the Lakedale folks. Nicole is here as the director of the Lakedale Regional Waste District. The three of us, Sue and I met with the three of them two, 3 weeks ago to let them know that what we're trying to do here is do our billing against the correct numbers. We've been doing our billings to them against numbers that have been frozen since 2015. One is the debt service number, and I believe that was frozen at $57,007, and the other is the operations and maintenance costs, which have been frozen at $47,198 since 2015. Our operations and maintenance costs at the Lowell treatment plant last year were $60,000 a month, not $47,200. Conversely, the debt service that we're supposed to be billing against for last year was $43,000 and change, as opposed to $57,000 and change that we were billing against. We used their flow rate as measured at the flume, and that's a percentage of our total flow. So they're roughly 4% of the flow that goes into the Lowell treatment plant from our flume. So we're 96% of that. So that 4% is multiplied by the monthly operations and maintenance costs and against the debt service costs to come up with most of the billing that we bill them for. The other two components are a $3 per connection charge to Lakedale residents on a monthly basis and 50 cents per Lakedale resident for administrative and general, I think, Jen, is what that's called. So we're not looking to adjust the rates at which we're billing them. We're looking to adjust to use the correct operations and maintenance costs that we're being billed and the correct debt service charge that we're being billed for as well. Sue did an analysis of that. For example, for the first 7 months of this year, had we been billing them correctly, we would have billed them an additional $240 total for the 7 months. So it's not a lot of money, it's not a big adjustment, but it should be corrected in any case.
No, it should be corrected, I agree.
Yeah. None of us knows why it was frozen at 2015 levels, but it had been.
You knew I was going to ask that question, didn't you, Randy?
Yeah. We looked at it, and it didn't seem to be any rhyme or reason, Randy, why that was done, but, and then there's a true-up figure, as you folks know, there's a true-up figure that we get from Lowell every year because well, I won't go into all that detail because the meeting's too short, but we never bill Lakedale for the true-up numbers. And I'm not looking to go backwards here. I'm just looking to correct it going forward. And we actually had a JMOB meeting today for the first time since February, and we were happy to do that. We're hoping to get more up-to-date or month-by-month billing numbers from Lowell, but if we continue to get them on an annual basis and we wind up with a true-up number, then we need to be billing Lakedale against the true-up number as well, and we just simply haven't been doing that.
Great explanation,
Yeah,
Rick, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, thank you.
And I agree with moving forward.
How did
More about the true-up.
Nicole, how did your meetings go? Was it informative? You understand what is,
Yes, it was very well presented.
okay.
And you understand why and all? Okay, okay.
Yeah, there's a good track record of what the billings are.
Sure.
I
They're
don't know
just
why
not the
we
right
use-
numbers being
I don't
put
know why
into
we
the
don't use it.
calculation, yeah.
Yeah.
But they sort of offset, like you said, one's going up and one's going down, so
Right.
that's
Right.
fortunate.
And
Yeah.
as I say, over a 7-month period, it was a $240 difference. So it's,
Those are numbers easy to live with for
Yeah.
people.
Like
Yeah,
$35
yeah,
a month.
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Randy, could it have been the bill sender and the bill sending department? Was it business or management reason for policy call?
Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
Just wondering.
It predates Jen's being
Yeah, it does
in
predate
office,
Jen.
so, yeah,
You're off.
yeah.
I can't speculate what took place or didn't take place here before because I was not privy to those things.
And you kind of indicated it might have been due to the fact that we haven't had no meetings with them.
We hadn't had any meetings with like Dale folks.
Yeah.
In, what, 10 years or so, did we think, Nicole?
We've had one in the almost 16 years that I.
1 and 16,
Yeah.
okay,
So,
okay.
so we can correct it going forward.
Okay, okay.
We make a real nuisance of ourselves.
Well, two now, because,
Yeah, we're going overboard.
right, you're getting crazy.
Yeah, yeah. Do I have a motion to approve the adjustments to the Lakedale Regional Waste District's capacity billing costs? Motion by Julie,
I'll second it.
second by Ralph. Jennifer, roll call please.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Julie Rivera?
Yes.
Randy Niemeyer?
Yes.
Colleen Schemen?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Richard Sharp?
Yes. Motion carries 7-0.
Question real quick, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Since it's been well known that we haven't gotten together too often, I know it's what, once a year we're supposed to meet?
Yes, in June of each year.
Okay, so we had the meeting here the last time, and as tradition serves in these partnerships, you kind of change venues, so if you guys want to get to thinking about that next June, it'll hopefully be here before we know it, and it's not a long winter. So, if you want to think about that venue and work with our staff here, and that way, when the time comes, we're not missing that date again.
Already in my early spring calendar.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay, great, thank you. Thank you. Moving to number 3, Lakeview Business Park Water Recapture Agreement. Mr. Epperly?
Mr. President, the numbers are ready to have been approved. Neil's had a chance to look at them. There's been some corrections to the numbers that they're asking for. David, I'm not sure if you've gotten all of the, or if there are any changes that you were looking for their attorney to make in the proposed agreement.
I've not finished that, but I would also add that that was in part due to my understanding that we were working on a policy, and Rick and I did have a teleconference on that some time ago, maybe in October, early October, late September. So before I commented on the text of the proposed instrument, I wanted to be certain I wasn't crossing the lines with policy considerations. I did get something from you, I think, Rick.
Yes.
Yeah. And Rick, I did not hear from, and don't need to, if you're not, I want to correct me otherwise, but.
No,
That's
that's,
what I thought we
you're
were
correct,
talking
yeah.
about, some type of a.
Yes, yeah, that was discussed.
Policy overview or approach,
Yes,
template, something.
My recollection of what was decided was that we would go with what the statute prescribes, Dave, for recapture agreements.
Well, statute's discretionary.
Yes.
It contains may all over it instead of shall, and that's where the policymaking ability of the utility board can step in and and provide some guidance. That's really what I was looking for.
Okay.
Because Rick's right, statute exists. In fact, there are a couple places in the statute that it exists.
Mr. Chairman, can I have the floor for a second? I think we need to make a little sausage here right now. I mean, we have in front of us a proposal that was essentially drawn up by the attorney for Mr. Baltimore, is that correct?
It is.
Okay, so, and I'm appreciative of his proactive approach to this. Unfortunately, our utility board here, we haven't been as proactive in trying to iron out those finer points of what is it we're looking for from a set of objectives, because as Dave just said, in the statute, it's got may all over it, which allows for subjective application of opinion as it relates to policy, in which we know that when we're doing that with policy, that usually doesn't yield the greatest result for broad application of things and fair application. So, just off the bat, some things that kind of stick in my mind. I think you want these agreements to yield the results that we're after, right? And if we're looking at, well, what's the why? Why would we do a recapture agreement? It's so that we can expand our utilities without always borrowing money to do so, creating more debt, doing things that put more pressure on our ratepayers. So in something like this, Dave, what is the sunset of these agreements by statute?
Well, there are two. Depends which part of the statute you're looking at. One's 10 years and one is 15.
Okay, so at the end of that sunset, what are the requirements of current law, say, as far as if the entity that agreed to the recapture has not recaptured all of their money,
They lose.
No recovery.
No recovery.
No recovery,
Yep.
no improvement. And I can tell you, I've lived through that and had experiences with that amount of time lapsing. And
So-
commitments made by virtue of a reimbursement agreement such as you're talking about have been lost.
So given that the town has the ability to levy system development charges, we can also issue debt for these sorts of utility developments, and at the end of a recapture agreement, we own it. One of the things I think that creates an attractive community to develop in is when you have partnership agreements that are truly partnerships.
So I
where
thought
there's a
that's what
little
we
bit
were
of
trying to
shared
do,
risk.
Randy.
What I'm getting at here, John, is that
I thought this was a boilerplate template for
Right.
other areas.
But we've gone nowhere with this. What I'm trying to get to is to where we have a few things, a few parts of an outline put together for a policy, or else we're gonna be here 6 months from now with this same piece of paper in front of us with a deer in the headlight looks, and we'll be no further than what we are now, if we don't get something going. So I'm just sharing some ideas that if we're looking to create a community that wants these partnerships to spur the growth of our utilities, which help us to manage the growth of our community and also attract economic development outside of just residential development, in my mind, we need to take a partnership approach to this thing throughout the duration of the process, to where, let's say the developer can only recapture half of what they basically invested into it. If we were to build that infrastructure ourselves, we would be paying 100% of the cost, as to where we only had to pay, let's say, 50% of the cost if we shared the risk. So there's still a long-term benefit for the community by having a partnership approach.
The sausage grinder, though, does not include so far the tools that the town uses for large development partnerships
Right.
on contributions in lieu of additional infrastructure payment, quasi-impact fee, quasi-utility assistance. I'll roll out the Lennar project as a perfect example of that. There's a significant amount of additional contribution over and above directly what is stated in our ordinance, but by which reasonable conditions were imposed that were negotiated and agreed upon. We're given that vehicle by a PUD. Nearly every development you will see in your town hereafter until or unless the ordinances say otherwise, will be PUD type and styled developments because of density, because of
But
utility.
then aren't we going back to an à la carte policy at that point?
Some of it is that, Randy.
I get it, but what I'm saying is
I was a
that,
little surprised to see that we received a water reimbursement, or water utility reimbursement agreement proposal from the developer, given the other aspects of,
this puts all of the risk on the developer, which, I mean, sitting up here, we represent all the ratepayers, and that includes our commercial ratepayers. But if we're going to truly be, like, several years ago, we developed that developmental matrix in the RDC that Veritas did for us. Because so many times when people are trying to attract a commercial growth to their community, they throw out the traditional style economic development agreements, which are kind of focused around tax abatement or tip revenue.
right?
And what that developmental matrix allowed us to do was to be a little more
Clever.
value-centered as it relates to what is the actual, the investment of the developer adding to the value of the different parts that make up a commercial development. So it gave us the ability to be a little more specific in that, and I want to see our policy kind of reflect that we want to incentivize these sorts of things because it builds infrastructure at a much lower cost.
Well, I thought
For our community.
a month ago at this meeting, we had this exact discussion.
But we've made no progress, that's what I'm getting at, John, that's why
Right.
I'm talking about this now, because we've done nothing with it. We are no further along now than when it was first put in front of us.
I would agree with that.
And one of the things that bugs me here,
I just don't wanna hold them up.
but we're doing it right now by not getting anything done, by not even having the discussion. So if you want the discussion,
So you're
that's fine.
essentially
But we're
saying,
gonna come
hey,
back
you would
to
like to
it
have
next month.
something more fair to the developer
Wanna
than
have
what we're looking at today.
something that's balanced,
Okay.
right, that each party has some skin in the game. And I get what Dave's saying is that each project has its own sets of criteria that are different from one another.
Right?
But if we can come up with something that kind of spells out, maybe even apply it to that matrix.
But this agreement is written by their attorney essentially. So if our legal,
I'm not suggesting at all that the legal document presented to us is inappropriate or illegal. Not
Okay, it's
at
fine.
all. It's an advocate
It's fine.
document.
Right.
It's an advocate instrument for what their purposes are.
right,
But, and
we're
really,
trying to make it a
really-
standard boilerplate for us to
really
use.
it puts, what I'm trying to get here is kind of an approach to this that incentivizes people to do this kind of work, build sewers, build water lines, and even build roads,
Mhm.
okay? We can't force people to do that outside of our standards, but something that I hear from a lot of citizens is we've got these 2-lane horse and buggy paths that go from Parish to 41, and as these subdivisions fill in, it's a bottleneck. It's all becoming, you know, all this building going on. So if we learn how to utilize these sorts of agreements in a way that shows that, hey, the town's gonna partner with us and work with us, we're gonna make that investment because we know that at the end of the day, they've got our backs on this and this is what's gonna benefit the community. And really, when you build like that, you're not gonna lose.
No.
Because if the infrastructure's being built, we know what happens here in Cedar Lake, just by example, whenever we've built bigger infrastructure, things happen.
Right.
So, these are my thoughts to a policy. I like what Rick's saying from a simplicity standpoint of, hey, make it real simple by the statute, and that gets this off the table, right? But
Well,
what does it do?
we've had a million discussions in these meetings about state legislation.
That's the problem too, is that
You need to be careful now.
if you look at the state legislation that relates to extra-jurisdictional development of utilities,
Mhm.
there's some language in there that puts more of the onus of responsibility back on the municipality. So if we can start formulating our deals and these sorts of things in a way that's reflective of the spirit of the change in legislation, then we're not gonna run afoul 5 years from now or 10 years from now saying, oh, no, wait a second, you can't force a developer to pay for that, that's on you, that's your infrastructure. Because that's essentially the stuff that Jim Pressel's been working on in Indianapolis is geared towards that,
Well,
to
there's a
protect the developers.
penalty to ratepayers in it on top of it, 3 times. And that has to be weighed in here, how to approach it. For those of you who are at AIM, you may have heard that presentation. But the truth is, it's a problem to be integrated into our solution. We have to figure it out. We are the poster child for that legislation because of the growth and the extension of our community and our utilities.
Well, we are in communities like Whiteland, Brownsburg, and Noblesville that have sucked up so much farmland. That's where a lot of this stuff kind of
Originated.
births itself, and it births itself out of the developers lobby. And so if we take a proactive approach to this, where we're creating real wholesale partnerships where each party has skin in the game, then we protect ourselves a little bit from that hammer on the back end of this thing.
Sure, and I understand that we're trying to knock it out of the park right now, but we can also maybe step our way into this knowing this might not be the most ideal, but we can use this to build upon.
Well, who should we have work on this? Because we could have discussion here for an hour.
The problem is we've never really dove into this discussion, right? So this is kind of a work study session sort of discussion that I've brought up here, because we've gone nowhere. We have made zero progress.
Well, we've done
Mr.
recapture agreements in the past. And David started off with a document that was all redlined, if I'm not mistaken. Didn't you redline their initial?
Oh, I probably did.
But my point is, John, this isn't the past, there's new laws in play too.
I'm with you.
This is a totally different era of time than 10, 15, 20 years ago.
And some of what needs to be drafted into a reimbursement agreement that is mutually beneficial is home rule legislation, the Indiana code provisions, both in Title 8 and Title 36 related to reimbursement or contracting authority. We have to have all of our authority in this document for it to work. This main extension that we just talked about, that we learned quite a bit about in French Lick, is absolutely a critical component of it. And the document we craft here, the agreement and the policy that gets drafted, will go for a long time in our time.
Yeah, I'm not trying to stall this meeting by any means, but we have made zero progress on this. And Mr. Boltzmann and his team are moving dirt like crazy.
Yeah.
And they deserve to have some action on our part that at least offers them a counter to what they've put in front of us, and we have no counter.
Well, we should not be holding up their project. They have,
They're gonna put their water lines in the ground on good faith,
that's right.
and I'm happy about that. But we need to act in good faith too, and not just sit here and look at this for the next 6 months and say, oh boy, we better do something.
I'm with
Who's
you.
gonna do it? Well, I don't know who's gonna do it. Are you gonna? I don't know. You know, these are the things we gotta discuss. in
Rick,
the
any
meeting.
suggestions?
I know exactly how I would do it, but, they're asking for a recapture agreement.
Correct.
They're offering to take the risk
Correct.
on their end. If after 15 years they haven't recaptured their money, then that's on them. Now, I understand what Randy's saying, we can offer them something that helps, and I've seen that happen, Dave has seen it too, I think, over in St. John with the Gates of St. John. They had 2 recapture agreements. One was a pure recapture agreement, the other had, on the back end of it, if they didn't recapture all of their money, the town of St. John was going to come up with X number of dollars to help soften the blow.
Right.
So they've got 2 different agreements over there. Again, one is traditional straight line recapture agreement, and that's what this developer's asking for, and the other comes with a pillow, so to speak, on the town's behalf if they don't recapture. And oddly enough, the one they did that on, the developer's gonna recapture every dime plus interest over the 15 years. The one that they didn't offer the pillow on, they're not going to make themselves whole after the 15 years. It's not gonna happen. So it's just strange the way it worked out, but I've seen that happen both ways. So you can do that, you can offer that if you don't recapture all your money, with interest, and Dave, that's an 8% per annum,
It is.
interest rate that they're entitled to recapture, then the town could say, we'll help make you whole by giving so much to the project.
Gotcha.
But that's not what the developer's asking for. So,
It's not, but it's what I'm thinking of from a policy standpoint of how we deal with these things to incentivize developer-built infrastructure. Because we don't have piles of money like St.
Right.
John does, or a commercial district like Dyer does. So we gotta do things a little more creative here, and that's why I'm putting that out there, is that if both parties have risk and skin in the game, then you end up with a situation where, in a partnership, there's people holding each other accountable, there's an urgency to it. There's an end result that each party needs to achieve to make it work for them.
We're buzzing over the line of the consideration here. I mean, the developer's coming here, presenting a raw piece of land
Mhm.
and saying, I'm gonna build it. We're not their partners, really. We're their providers.
But they're building our infrastructure extra-jurisdictionally to connect to,
Maybe.
I'm not talking about the stuff within the development, Dave, I'm talking about the extra-jurisdictional water main expansion.
Well, getting it to his lot is what you're talking about.
The stuff that's outside their development. Yes,
All right, I'm with
that's
you.
all I'm talking about. The stuff in their development, that's their infrastructure.
Right, and so, because they wrote the agreement, because this is what they're asking, I hear what you're saying, but I think what we want to do is make sure we're, A, not holding it up, B, let's say this is a success and there's an expansion south of it, then we should have a boilerplate in our, our filing cabinet that is more like what you're talking about, Randy. I just hate like heck, with the ground gonna be freezing in a month or 6 weeks for us to create anything that might keep them from being able to do it.
Can we do a boilerplate, Dave? Can we? For all developers?
We
It's
can-
gonna have to be tweaked for each developer, is it not?
Policy call on your part.
But isn't each one gonna have to be tweaked?
So you said the last time you discussed this, though, was in September?
Yeah, it was before, going down the French Way.
So can we have something in November here that Rick and Dave and Rick have vetted and worked on, that the utility board can consider, at least for a baseline policy initiative for this particular project?
Yeah.
I'm good with
Because
that.
we've made
Yeah.
zero progress to this point, so.
Dave and I actually have a meeting set up on
Okay.
November 4th, if Rick can join us.
Yeah, that's the only reason I'm pushing this discussion, is because we got, like John said, we got to kind of go here.
Yeah, we gotta.
But like Randy said, we're not holding them up, John. They are
Okay,
proceeding.
Yeah, they're gonna lay the
Okay.
pipe,
Yeah.
it's going in the ground, but they're doing it on good faith.
Right.
Extra jurisdictionally, that we are gonna be in this game with them.
So there's a meeting November 4th, Rick?
Please? Yeah, with us,
Okay,
staff level.
okay. And now you still give us time to have by November 16th, have a document,
I think so.
hopefully? Okay, all right. So we want to defer this, is that what we want to do until next?
I'd make a motion to defer.
Motion by Randy to defer,
I'll second.
second by Colleen,
Nope, Julie.
second by Julie, sorry.
Mr. President.
Yes.
He's a
I don't
character,
want to
isn't he,
leave
Nick?
this, discussion piece without reminding you of all the considerations that go into this.
There has to be a lot, I understand, I agree.
There's a lot of monetary, there's a lot of fiscal plan, there's a lot of rate consideration.
And I think we have to review the laws that have been adopted over the last couple sessions, and even take a look at what's next
Are
up
there
their
going to be
sleeve.
some future
right?
laws? Yeah.
It's part of the sausage.
Yeah.
So when you.
It's difficult.
When you say and ask about, a policy, this would not be among the easier of policies
Understood.
that would be generated. There's development involved, there's success valuation involved, there's growth of the community involved, there's quality of life involved, there's utility availability involved. I mean, it's just comprehensive.
And at the end of the day, if Andrew and CLBD want to take all the risk, okay, fine. Want to get this thing done. let's get it done. But let's not ignore the changes in how this all works. And do something that future utility boards can kind of stand on and say, okay, this is what we reference, this is good policy.
Well, that 41 corridor is gonna
Yeah.
continue to
Gonna
have
blow
domino
up.
effect,
Yeah.
it's gonna blow up. There's nowhere else to go except south,
Yep, it's,
whether we like it or not, so having
South
a
is
plan that
west.
doesn't sink us, but
Yeah.
also incentivizes, is a good idea, Randy, I don't disagree with it, but
Yeah,
I think
no.
that, you know,
We
again,
just
they're
need to
bringing
get
the
it
plan
done.
to us, is my interpretation.
being at the table also gives you a little bit of control of the conversation too.
Fairly to roll that.
Mhm.
But we also need to know that legislation for the main extension is just the beginning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Randy's right about the legislation.
there's an
we're
entire
looking at.
package of things coming down the pike from special interest in Indianapolis, especially from the developers lobby, home builders lobby, Farm Bureau. I mean, there's a lot of stuff
Wow.
that's being worked on. That's gonna really put the clamps down on municipalities even more.
Wow.
Call for the question.
I'm sorry, Bob?
Call for the question.
To vote.
Okay, take the vote.
Yeah, roll call, Jen?
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Julie Rivera?
Yes.
Randy Neemeyer?
Yes.
Colleen Scheeben?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Richard Sharp?
Yes.
By the way, thanks, Bob, for that little Robert's Rules of Order. I like that. It's good.
Robert's rules?
It was good. I like that. Good move.
Number 4, the written report by our clerk treasurer.
The reports were previously sent out to you all. I'm still playing catch up now that I finally have stayed pulled out of the office, so if anybody has any questions, but at this time, I can't think of anything new I have.
I looked at the cash account fund report, and it looks very good. You okay with it?
We're in an okay spot.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Anybody else, questions for Jen?
No.
I'll reserve them for next meeting when I'm not so long-winded.
Okay. Number 5, consultants or engineer, Nice Engineering, please.
Good evening.
Good evening.
For the Westside Sanitary Sewer Interceptor update, we'll focus on Project 1. Since our last meeting, we have the IDEM permit that has been updated. We have a recommendation for your consideration, not only including the previous progress on this Project 1, but recommendations going forward, which would be to do value engineering through the end of this month, advertise in November, we award the project in January, start in late February, early March with actual construction. And that was an outcome of the discussion that we had at the last meeting. So that's what we have down at the bottom, below the line, which is a consideration for direction.
Very good.
And if you find that acceptable, now that we have the item permit updated, we will move forward on that.
And this is a timeline for the whole project?
Yeah,
Correct,
that-
Neil, from the beginning, basically?
Yeah, for Project 1.
Yes, Project 1. Okay.
Observation, Mr. Chairman? So, I notice on this timeline that since we created the utility board, there's been a heck of a lot more stuff going on. So,
For sure.
I think we need to continue the urgency on these things because, the momentum, the time frame that we're operating in of a healthy economy, right now, nobody knows.
Yep.
So getting this stuff done now, getting it taken care of, getting the debt issued, the bonds sold, anything we need to do, we gotta get on it.
Yeah, and interest rates alone are gonna move.
Yes.
We all know that.
We have to jump on this
Inflation is
stuff
coming.
today.
And as David mentioned last month, that last property acquisition has been secured, which is always, as you all know, the most challenging
Yeah.
part of any of these projects. So now that that's done, the permit's been updated. The CSX River permit is a 5-year permit, so we are in fully compliant with that to proceed on this project should you see fit to do that.
Okay.
Giddy up.
Did you, was that a motion you were making, Randy, or not?
I don't know if there needs to be a motion on this.
It's not a,
Unless somebody
Just
tells
an
me
update
no,
item.
this
So
is
you're going
what
forward?
we
Okay.
intend on doing.
There's no no's, right?
Should I just make an objection to Neil in general?
And we have that stricken from the record. And I'll coordinate with Dave's office on the advertisements, conformance with state statutes on advertisement and award and those bits
Super.
as well.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
No, so go ahead, Neil, thank you.
Will do. Project 2, that project is on schedule. We've submitted what was required for the revisions at about 6 weeks ago for the easements, and we're coordinating with Dave's office on that and the appraisers for anything they need. The East Side Sanitary Sewer Interceptor, item 3, notice of award has been signed, and the contractors are processing their bids and insurance to move forward on that. Item 4, unfortunately, Tim's not here, but I did talk to Tony Perez, your wastewater superintendent, today. They are working on the remainder of those sewer videos. The meters were installed 2 weeks ago. We had some issues with rain that they couldn't install them, but they installed those meters 2 weeks ago, and they're collecting data for us on a weekly basis, and we'll move forward on that as well. Item 5, there's been no change since last month. Design's complete. We're going to be ready to bid, consistent with our IFA SRF documentation and requirements for that. Risk and resilience, Howard Jones in our office is working on that with Rick and his staff, and then by year's end, we will have the report and document to the EPA with a record of that risk and resilience program.
And that report's due in December of this year?
I believe it is. Unfortunately, Howard is handling that, but
Yeah, I
by
think
December
it's December.
It's the end of December, yeah.
End of December?
Late December,
Yeah,
Okay,
and
okay,
that is on schedule and on task.
okay, thank you.
Item 7, the water main, transmission main between the lighthouse and Lakeside 2 and Lakeside South is what they're calling it. We have a new revised route. We've completed about 70% of what we need in data collection. Survey will be done by next week, and we'll be out to bid on schedule by December, January with permitting, coordinating with that for the Indiana Finance Authority and SRF.
Could
Okay.
you send me a copy of the new route?
Absolutely. I was thinking about that last week.
Rick sent it to us.
I did, I sent it to the
Yeah.
council first.
The PDF,
I looked at it.
the PDF, yes, but as last time, Bob, I'll print out a large copy that you'd asked for as well.
So when might this be consideration for the SRF?
The SRF, Sue, and Rick had mentioned that earlier today, following our JMOB meeting. Once everything's been submitted to the SRF and they've approved the PER, my understanding, and Sue can correct me through Rick, that they will approve the PER and then the award has to be approved with the Indiana Finance Authority, and their funding is, I believe, in March of 2022.
Because what we had talked about at the AIM conference was going in with one big issuance of debt for this water project and for the ecosystem restoration all at once.
Oh.
That was something that Sue and I had discussed, and we had discussed a little bit at the table, was looking at if the timing works out, can we do this in one issuance, one package?
If we're relying on the SRF, I just was copied by Tim Berry on communication from Jim McGough at the
Okay.
SRF that our project does not qualify.
Okay. That was just a discussion piece that was had.
It doesn't provide the water quality benefit, terminology, or description, or something. I'm gonna get with Tim on this, but
Well, that's what our teleconference tomorrow is about,
Got it.
to try
Okay.
to clarify for Tim what this project really is. But
Got it.
there are a number of moving parts here that we'll be reporting on in the next few days.
Okay.
if that happened, it was, pretty black and white, how he responded without
Right.
knowing more.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Interesting.
And for clarity, the priority of this in terms of providing capacity on the east side is production facility, coordinating that with staff and Peerless, transmission main through the lighthouse, from the lighthouse to the lakeside development, and then supplementing with the construction of the elevated tank, which has been designed and permitted through IDEM. And that will all be coordinated and bid out on schedule.
What I really like about this is through a collaborative effort with Neil and staff, we found a route for this water main that keeps it entirely within town-owned right-of-way, not dependent upon getting easements from anybody. And Schilling was a very cooperative
Fantastic.
partner.
Yeah, that's great. We found out how easements can go,
Yeah, yeah.
so that's wonderful.
Yeah, Rick's absolutely correct. Schilling Group, they'll have to front load some of their water main extensions, but there will be no additional water main extensions for them. And we actually have a value of, not duplicating efforts with the project that the RDC is moving forward with for their path project
Trail.
and their water main extension from 133rd to 145th. So this is piggybacking on that, and Don and I have been working together intimately on this, and he's been a great help to essentially allow the utility board to find value in projects that were already being done and not extending mains that necessarily didn't provide additional value to the ratepayers and the developers.
Good to hear.
How's the repairs going on the lighthouse water system?
They're moving forward. They've replaced one of the drives, the other is scheduled in the next week or so. I understand there's a supply chain issue that the provider's been dealing with, but they're moving forward, and talking to the guys out there Thursday morning last week out at the site.
No worries, Mayor Pete's got it under control.
Hey, Bob, I don't think he's had any more outages
He's awful.
since Drive A has been replaced, so.
They're moving forward, and, you know, as much as we do with staff, the guys that you got over at your Public Works, Water and Sewer Department, they're doing a great job, and,
That's good to hear.
Good.
Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Thanks, Neil. Moving to the Director of Operations. Is anybody going to take his spot tonight? Mr. Everly?
I can report on item number 2 there. The sump pump inspection progress, we are making the appointments this week to start the inspections next week. We're going to use, as to the greatest extent possible, our own personnel to do it. We think that's going to result in some overtime, but we believe that paying our personnel overtime is probably going to be less expensive than paying independent contractors to do this. The only thing we've got set in our ordinance to pay independent contractors would be $23 per inspection. We think that a person should be able to do 3 inspections per hour, so an independent contractor in 1 hour could be paid $69.
Yeah.
Where an overtime for an employee might be more like $30, $35. So we think we can save money doing it that way. So the thing that I was gonna hand this out, but, and I guess I still could, but Dave, I just sent this to you, I think, earlier today, so I know you haven't had a chance to look at it, but what we're looking for is to put teeth in the inspection process, because I'm not certain we have anything that allows us to, this is going to be saying it the wrong way, but to force our way into someone's home to be able to make the inspection of the sump pump. If they don't allow.
You're right, that doesn't.
I'm sorry, I'm not saying that was right, but to give us access to the property to make the. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, but we do have, Town Code Section 51.13A does have a fine in it for illegally discharging stormwater into the sanitary sewer. But I'm not certain, Dave, that it gives us the teeth we need to make sure we can get into a house and make the inspection. So I just sent over to you a couple of my thoughts along with copies of the 2 code sections. That one I just quoted, and 51.99, which is the penalty phase of that town code section. And I'd like you to take a look at it, see if you think there's enough teeth in it to grant us that access, or do we need to modify it so that if they don't let us in, or don't let us back in, should we find a problem, that we have some sort of teeth in it to force that issue.
Yeah, Rick, I again think a good exhibit, a top view of an example of a home, explaining so that our folks have an easy time to explain, and let them know if you are not in compliance, we will not be fining you, we just have to correct it. is going to go a long way.
Right.
And having them be friendly towards us.
That's what this says. It says, we're not looking to punish people, we're looking to identify where we have problems and to correct them. We take the position that these are inadvertent connections that people aren't aware of, and we're just wanting to correct them.
Well,
A lot of
we're
people-
assuming innocence.
Homeowners don't
Maybe.
understand stormwater, Rick, and they don't understand
What a concept.
sanitary water,
Yeah,
and, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're not in tune with it per se.
right.
So the better we explain that,
Having clear
the
water.
easier it'll be to get in the house.
Sewer plan and paying for accessing clear water.
Correct, yeah. So when you get a chance, Dave, if you would take a look at that and see if you think we need to modify those sections to give us more authority, I guess.
Yeah, I'll be looking at the due process.
This will be a miserable failure, though, if we get over-aggressive with trying
Yes.
to enter
Yes.
properties.
Oh, yeah. You're right.
Education is
uh,
key.
You know,
We need to educate them why we're doing it.
Make people think that we are, you know, because right now, the view of government and mandating things
It's
is
not good.
not great, and I understand, I feel the same way. So as long as we continue to take that approach of, you know, we're looking to correct problems, not punish people.
That's correct.
And we're gonna put it in the newsletter, right?
We did, it is in the
Extremely
newsletter.
important.
We did put it in the newsletter to give people some advance notice of it before we start doing the inspections. And I really hope we can accomplish this with our personnel, just because they're familiar with the system, they know a lot of our folks already, they have.
But if we can't, let's continue forward.
We
Yeah.
will, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. We're prepared to hire independent contractors if we need to. So, and Neil has something to report regarding the sanitary sewer taps relative to the land swap we're looking at.
Well, before you get to that, Rick,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, we have to do the inspection. We are mandated by our permit to not permit water infiltration, inflow into our system. So
So the NPDES permit is maybe strong enough language, you think, Dave?
I don't think so.
Okay, that's what I'm afraid of.
It doesn't go into the enforcement side.
Right.
It just talks about that we will exclude all waters, but effluent.
He's gonna believe on it a little bit.
But the sanitary sewer taps,
Yeah, for the Diamond Peak issue that we discussed at the meeting last month, they requested 25 to 50, a
30,
guarantee for that.
25 to 30.
25 to 30.
I'm sorry, did I say 50? That was my mistake, forgive me. 25 to 30. We did review the downstream system within Linsway and Lift Station 11. It's recent upgrades that Public Works had done with the Xylem systems, and we can absolutely accommodate those 30 taps.
Up to 30? Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
Correct.
very good. Thank you, Neil.
Yeah, thanks, Neil.
My pleasure.
Thanks, Neil.
Thank you. You're welcome, Tom.
Okay, we move to town
Do
attorney.
we want to move forward with that plan back here for that now?
It's not, I don't think that's a utility.
It's like those two old guys in Muppets.
Talking about the 40 for 40.
Yeah.
It's not quite ready.
Well, first, yeah, this That makes sense.
We were all here.
Right, we just
try.
keep the ball rolling.
Yeah, just keep it
Keep
going.
the ball moving down the field in the right direction is the key.
David, you have a report on,
Yeah, the water rate issue, SCT charge petition down in Indianapolis is still in discovery mode, if you will. I haven't had a report from Chris in a couple weeks, but Sue's out of town, he needs her, and they're gonna go
Sure.
meet, they're gonna go meet with, WCC, consistent with the request to do so. And we're in the case management, schedule for that proceeding.
okay.
You can't make it go faster, and you can't slow it down.
So it's moving as best as it can move.
Moving the way bureaucracy.
Yeah, yeah, got it. Okay, thank you. Rick, you want to give them just a brief?
Real brief. We had our JMOB meeting this morning with the Lowell folks. They reported that the UV, the ultraviolet project was awarded to Austin Electric in the amount of $324,000, which was a little bit under what the engineer's estimate was. There was a financial report that we went over. We approved the 2021 operating budget. And we've agreed on the next meeting, which is to be February 8th, at the Lowell Town Hall. So, make
And
it
it's
fun.
gonna be, we're gonna open communications, try to open communication a little bit better.
Giving a hand to
between
the fact that we had a GMOB meeting, I'm very
yes.
happy.
It was
We were
eight
open.
months in the offing, Randy.
We had to reintroduce ourselves. so.
We did.
Good.
Mr. President,
Yeah, well, yes, Dave.
please let the record reflect that Austin Electric has no relation
No, yeah,
or ours.
yep, absolutely.
No, I just don't.
Thanks, Rick. Any public comments?
Yeah, absolutely.
Public
Mr. Chairman,
comments?
we actually have 2 attendees online with their hands raised.
Okay.
I'm not sure who this first one is. They didn't, type their name in.
Gotta turn that off. I can turn it off, thank you.
Are you helping me out, Cliff? Or not? Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. Who is this?
This is David Novacell of 10805 West 134th Place in Cedar Lake, Indiana.
Could you tell him this is the wrong meeting?
He has
We've
to
not
wait
started
for the
the
next
town
meeting.
council meeting yet.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
We're still
sorry.
the utility board.
No,
Okay, we'll wait.
We're running a little bit behind, sir.
We'll
My
unmute
mistake.
a few. Okay, so you have
Okay,
no more,
that's it?
because the other attendee, has disappeared.
Probably the same thing.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Jen, we're okay?
Yes,
Okay,
I'll unmute
okay.
the other gentleman at the next.
Seeing no public comment, this meeting is adjourned. The next meeting, Tuesday, November 16th, 6:30. The meeting is now for the town council.
Meeting is called to order, Town Council public meeting for October 19th, 2021. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. And during our moment of silence this evening, please keep in your prayers the family of Jim Kyleman, a local fantastic citizen who served as a reserve police officer here for many years. All of us that knew Jim were very lucky to have known him. He was just one of those unique individuals that had a positive impact on everything that he did. So please remember his family in your prayers. Pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call.
Robert Carnahan?
Here.
John Foreman?
Present.
Julie Rivera? Here. Ross Miller?
Present.
Colleen Sheehan? Here. Richard Sharp?
Here.
Randy Neimeyer?
Present.
I am present. Rick Eberly?
Present.
David Austin?
President.
Start with public comment on agenda items. Any public comment on agenda items? Third call. Public comment on agenda items. Jen, anything on my?
No hands are raised.
Thank you. Item 1 under public hearings is ordinance 1394, annexation petition 10702 West 141st Avenue, Neubauer. Mr. Austin, review of legals.
Legals are in order. We published timely notice of the public hearing on this item. The item for your consideration at close of public hearing is the fiscal plan and enabling resolution approving same.
Okay, reading of ordinance 1394, Mr. Sharp, vice title, please.
An ordinance annexing certain contiguous land to the town of Cedar Lake, Lake County, Indiana, and all matters related thereto.
Thank you. Reading of resolution 1293, fiscal plan and policy for annexation, Mr. Sharp, vice title, please.
Resolution number 1293, a resolution of the Cedar Lake Town Council to approve a fiscal plan and policy for proposed annexation of a parcel of real property to the town of Cedar Lake, Lake County, Indiana, and all matters related thereto.
Thank you. We go to remonstrators. Any remonstrators for or against? Any remonstrators? Any remonstrators? Jen, anything online?
Nothing
Thank
online.
you. Mr. Anderson?
Yes, Mark Anderson of Anderson on behalf of petitioner and owner, 141 Partners LLC. Here
Thank
to
you.
respond to any questions.
Town council discussion, you can address Mr. Anderson if you'd like.
No, I think, from the discussions we've had in the past, I don't have any questions.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Well, Mr. President, and I apologize for bringing this up now. I just saw this late this afternoon, and I had not had a chance to even mention it to David, but I'm not sure if the advertisement was corrected or not. In looking for something else, I came across the ad itself, and it was advertised on September 14th, but it advertised a public hearing for September 7th. Was that notice corrected for?
I think it was. I will verify that. for the
Okay.
record.
And again, I apologize, but it was like 4:30 this afternoon that I saw that, and I just not had a chance to ask Dave about it prior to now.
We'll check on that.
Okay.
Yeah, if you would, please, because I just happened to notice that in looking for something else. And the other comment I have is relative to the next ordinance, which I did, the Ravens annexation, but I'll save that comment until that item.
Very good.
Okay, we have a town council decision on ordinance 1394. Is there a motion by the council to approve ordinance 1394 on its first reading?
I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance number 1394, the annexation petition.
Thank you. Motion by Mr. Foreman.
Sorry, did you say the ordinance, John?
The ordinance number 1394.
It's a resolution only tonight.
Okay, it
Strictly
has on
resolution.
our agenda ordinance 1394 for
And
consideration.
I understand. It's a resolution only tonight. You made an introductory reading on the ordinance.
Very good.
This is the public hearing on the fiscal plan component, and you'll have to come back next month.
I will change my motion to resolution for the annexation petition for address 10702 West 141st Avenue.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Second by Ms. Rivera. Questions or discussion on the motion?
Yes, this parcel is west of Rose Garden, correct?
Yes,
Okay, and it's going to be a storage unit?
that's the proposal, yes,
Okay.
proposed plan right now.
I just
East
wanted to
of the
look
railroad
that up
tracks, yeah.
for everybody. Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? Roll call vote.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Julia Rivera?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Colleen Scheven?
Yes.
Richard Sharp?
Yes.
Randy Neemeyer?
Yes, motion carries 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 2 is ordinance 1395 annexation petition. Can't say that word tonight. 12416 Wicker Avenue, Ravens. Review legal.
Legals are in order for the public hearing to be conducted this evening on the fiscal plan component of this annexation petition.
Okay, introductory reading of ordinance 1395. Mr. Sharp.
Ordinance number 1395, an ordinance annexing certain contiguous land to the town of Cedar Lake, Lake County, Indiana, and all matters related thereto.
Thank you. Reading of resolution 1294 fiscal plan and policy for annexation. Ravens. Mr. Sharp.
Resolution 1294, a resolution of the Cedar Lake Town Council to approve a fiscal plan and policy for proposed annexation of a parcel of real property to the town of Cedar Lake, Lake County, Indiana, and all matters related thereto.
Thank you. Any remonstrators for or against? Any remonstrators for or against? Any remonstrators?
Nothing else.
Thank you. Town council discussion. Again, Mr. Anderson's in front of you.
Okay. Randy, this is, on Wicker Avenue, and I believe we had a call, months ago, to make this annexation reflect the B3 out of the gate. If I'm not mistaken, myself and you and Rick.
That's zoning, not annexation.
Yeah, but in section 3, it does talk about annexed with agricultural zoning. I thought that should be B3 since it's on that 4-to-1 corridor to reflect the.
We actually had a couple of conversations. One was a telephone conversation. The other was when Mr. Ravens appeared here and made that same request. And that was my recollection too, that the council was in favor of zoning it as B3 at the time of annexation.
Right.
But this ordinance, the language as John pointed out in section 3 of the ordinance reflects agricultural zoning. Agricultural zoning is typically what we do when we annex a property, but we'd had a couple of specific conversations with Mr. Ravens in which I thought the council made it clear that they were in favor of the B3 zoning at the time of annexation.
Yeah, the whole corridor is essentially, that's our mission.
With the update of our comp plan,
It's
it does
gonna-
reflect that.
It does.
Mr. Austin, comments?
Drafted the way we've done the last 15 of these. Your policy has been heretofore to bring people in at the agricultural. It happened on everything you've seen in the last year for sure.
What would be the advantage to that?
The zoning process goes through the planning commission, gets the vetting of that.
What would be the disadvantage? Okay.
You know this parcel, John's right about its location, its use, its utility. This was the solution Mr. Ravens found to the use activities that are desired in the area. It all makes a lot of sense, but it's also subject to a subdivision plat amendment, and generally those come in simultaneously.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with John on this particular one just because of what we did with our comp plan update, but this is the introductory reading.
Correct.
Can this be possibly amended for a next reading?
You can do it right now. First of all, you only have a single reading on the resolution, so you can approve fiscal plan policy tonight. You can do so by amending that portion to describe the zoning district classification that you prefer.
I'm a big fan of what Dave said in making sure that the process of public scrutiny takes place. But considering the fact that we have given that 41 corridor a good bit of attention in our comp plan update, and we do contemplate that entire area as B3, it would make sense in this particular case to do something like that. I don't support that in most cases just because I think that the planning process and zoning process is there for the public and the citizen representatives to have a chance to vet, like Dave said, vet these things. But we vetted some of this with the Plan Commission in the development of our new comp plan because there were Plan Commissioners involved as well as they adopted it too.
It's clearly a policy call.
That's just how my mind is thinking here, is that we did vet this.
Yep, absolutely.
And the zoning petition was filed around the same time as the annexation petition. They're both on file.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, I would agree with Dave in most cases, but like I say, this one was like just recently vetted by the Plan Commission and the Town Council.
Everybody within the
and the RDC
entire town.
all at once, so.
Yeah.
So, Randy, if you would solicit a motion to amend the resolution and fiscal plan to reflect a B3 zoning district classification insertion. And assuming that would be approved, then as amended, solicit a motion for the resolution to be considered as amended.
Okay. Any other town council discussion on this? Is there a motion by the town council on resolution 1294, the fiscal plan and policy for annexation, to include B3 zoning as the zoning classification for this property?
I would make a motion to amend the resolution 1294 to add the B3 zoning district classification as opposed to the agricultural zoning district classification.
Thank you. Motion by Mr. Former. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Sharp. Questions or discussion? Roll call.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Julie Rivera? Yes. Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Colleen Scheven?
Yes.
Richard Sharp?
Yes.
Randy Neemeyer?
Yes, motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ravens.
That was for the amendment
That's amended.
of the,
Yeah.
Now you need to approve.
now we are on to the resolution.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the fiscal plan and policy for annexation, resolution 1294?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Foreman, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Sheehan, questions or discussion? Roll call.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Julia Rivera?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Colleen Scheven?
Yes.
Richard Sharp?
Yes.
Randy Neemeyer?
Yes, motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have our consent agenda minutes of July 6, 2021, September 7, 2021, September 28, 2021, and October 12, 2021. Claims, All Town Fund, $605,832.32. Wastewater Operating, $180,901.09. Water Utility, $82,559.69. Stormwater, $45,504.14. And payroll, 9/30, 10/1, and 10/14/2021 of $517,152.10. Monthly payroll expenditures, September 1 through 30, of $233,986.25. Manual journal entries for September 1 through 30. Donations, you're a lucky dog. Police donation, $220. Motion to accept and waive the reading of the minutes, accept the consent agenda is listed.
A lot of money right there.
Few bucks.
A lot of money.
Motion by Ms. Rivera,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Sheehan, questions or discussion? Roll call.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Julia Rivera?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Colleen Scheven?
Yes.
Richard Sharp?
Yes.
Randy Neemeyer?
Yes, motion carries 7-0. Ordinance and resolutions. Number 1, ordinance number 1399, year 2022 budget. First reading was 9/28/21. Mr. Sharp, by its title, please, and I will turn the floor over to Ms. Sandberg and Mr. Thompson.
Ordinance 1399, be it ordained by the Cedar Lake Town Council that for the expenses of the Cedar Lake Civil Town for the year ending December 31, 2022, the sums herein specified are hereby appropriated and ordered set apart out of the several funds herein named and for the purposes herein specified, subject to the laws governing the same. Such sums herein appropriated shall be held to include all expenditures authorized to be made during the year, unless otherwise expressly stipulated and provided for by law. In addition, for the purposes of raising revenue to meet the necessary expenses of Cedar Lake Civil Town, the property tax levies and property tax rates as herein specified are included herein. Budget for Form 4B for all funds must be completed and submitted in the manner prescribed by the Department of Local Government Finance. The ordinance shall be in full force and effect from and after its passage and approval by the Cedar Lake Town Council.
Thank you, Ms. Sandberg, floor is yours.
So at our meeting on, what was it, the 28th?
28th of September.
28th of September, I think our financial consultant, Mr. Thompson, went through everything pretty well. I mean, if anybody has any other questions, nobody has reached out and asked anything over the last couple of weeks.
Has it been posted online?
Yes, it was actually the next day.
Good.
I think Mr. Rowe had it up online,
Awesome.
so if you go to our website, cedarlakeinn.org, right on the front page, on the left-hand side, there's a button that says 2022 budget, and you will find Mr. Thompson's PowerPoint presentation,
Fantastic.
as well as the budget form 1, budget form 2, and form 3. Did I get that all right, Corby? I think that's what we covered.
Yep.
As long as we did what we said we would do, that's great. People
Yes,
had a
sir.
chance to look at it.
It was posted, and it's still posted.
Good. Anything else, Jen?
I mean, I don't have anything else. Corby, do you have anything you want to add?
I was just gonna mention, everything is exactly still as it was, for the public hearing on the 28th. There are no major changes. You said all the materials are online available to the public now. After adoption, the only next step regarding the 22 budget would be, receiving a 1782 notice, which is what the DLGF gives out after they've completed their review. More or less, you get 10 days to make any adjustments or corrections of any errors they may have had. Usually get that in about, around November. But like I said, we're looking to adopt the budget exactly as it was presented at the public hearing. That's all I really have unless there's any other questions.
I have a comment, first time that I know of in our history that we are adopting a budget that appropriates a portion of the miscellaneous revenues derived from building permits that's above and beyond, for general fund purposes, above and beyond that general fund levy. So it's actually part of a budget plan this time rather than additional appropriations. And again, in our committees, we were able to formulate a strategy that even in the worst case scenario of growth stopping, the amount that we're appropriating is sustainable leading up to the time where we are able to see the levy growth from the increase in property tax collections. So what we did was, yes, we're outspending what our levy allows us to do, but it's done so in a manner that the levy will catch up to itself, which was the entire exercise we went through in the sustainability plan, and a great deal of it was focused on the two guys from the Muppets over there, and the need for increases in public safety budgets. What are their names again? I can never remember. But in all seriousness, you know, there's been a need in this community for a while to really beef up our public safety services, and this will allow for more growth in the police department as well as the fire department. So this is exciting that we're finally here to be able to do this.
I had a comment, Mr. Chairman. Rick, you've had a chance to vet everything with the department heads across the board?
Yes, we had a process where we had 2 or 3 meetings with department heads.
Okay.
In putting this budget together. I believe that was also sort of maybe precedent setting. I'm not sure that's happened before.
Sometimes we've had one.
Yeah, but we had a lot of good give and take. Really, hats off to Jen and to Corby for guiding us through the process. It was very productive.
Something good to build on. Jen, thanks for your work. Corby, thanks for your help.
Welcome. Thank you.
Okay, you've heard the adoptive reading of ordinance 1399. The motion to adopt.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Miller, second.
I'll say.
Second by Ms. Sheehan. Question or discussion? Roll call.
Robert Carnahan,
I'm gonna vote no because I don't think the town council needs to have another raise. Thank you.
John Foreman,
Yes.
Julie Rivera,
Yes.
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
Colleen Scheven,
Yes.
Richard Sharp,
Yes.
Randy Neimeyer.
Yes, motion carries 6-1. Item 2 is Resolution 1291, ADA Transition Plan Self-Evaluation Guide, Title 9. Is that Title 9?
Title 6.
Title 6. Sorry. Implementation Plan Updates. Resolution, Mr. Sharp, please read by title only, then I will turn the floor over to Mr. Everly.
Resolution number 1291, a resolution amending resolution number 1081 pertaining to the adoption of the Americans with Disability Act, ADA, transition plan in accordance with the terms, conditions, and requirements under certain applicable federal law, along with providing amendment to the Town of Cedar Lake ADA compliance plan and self-evaluation document in all matters related thereto.
Thank you. Mr. Everly.
Mr. President, members of the council, first of all, I'd like to thank Chief Fisher for allowing Sarah Moore, his administrative assistant, who's also our ADA coordinator, to spend as much time on revising this plan as she did. Also, like to recognize Tim Kubiak and Don Oliphant for their contribution, as well as Margaret Abernathy for her contribution in putting this together. Truly was a team effort. As Randy knows, we got a startling email sort of out of the blue telling us that we were out of compliance with these plans.
Yeah, it was sent to me.
Yeah, it was sent to Randy.
I read it and I'm going.
Yeah. So Randy got it to me, and we jumped on this pretty quickly. I'd say, Randy, it's probably not more than 3 weeks ago that we got that email.
You're right on it.
And all of us jumped on it to get this up to date. We'll provided you, you adopt the resolution tonight, we'll get this plan to NDOT tomorrow. They need to have this right away. But they told us, even though we were out of compliance, it was more of a date thing. We hadn't been updating it on the schedule that they're looking for. They said our plan was robust, in good shape. We had to tweak it a little bit, which we did, and we brought it up to speed. But we're ready to turn it over to NDOT. What they told us was that I believe it's a Title VI implementation plan, if I'm remembering this right, has to be updated every 3 years, the other two components every year. We decided we're just gonna do all three of them every year, so nothing falls through the cracks again. And we're just gonna schedule this time of the year, October of each year, to review it, and then get it to you for a resolution to adopt the update to these plans in November or December of every calendar year, so we stay on top of it.
Good strategy.
Josh, any comments? Thank you.
Who took all these pictures?
Sarah?
Sarah,
Yeah.
good job.
She did an outstanding job.
Yeah, everybody came together pretty quickly, and it's important because without having this plan submitted, we can't get any community crossing grants.
It could jeopardize our ability to get funding both from a state, I believe both from a state and federal level, so, right.
Yeah, great job.
Is there a motion to approve Resolution 1291 as submitted?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Carn, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Rivera, questions or discussion?
Yeah, I'm happy to see the pier made it. Good job, Bill.
You know, this stuff, it really is important for a community
It is.
to have this, because there's a lot of people with disabilities, and for how many years did they not have access to things? And
Well, that's good.
I mean, it's good to see what we're doing here that improves Cedar Lake as an accessible community, and the pier is a great example, John.
It is.
Any other questions or discussion? Roll call?
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Julia Rivera?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Colleen Scheeben?
Yes.
Richard Sharp?
Yes.
Randy Niemeyer?
Yes, motion carries 7-0. Item 3, Resolution 1292, appropriation transfers. Mr. Sharp by its title only, and then Ms. Amber.
Resolution number 1292, a resolution authorizing the appropriation transfers by the clerk treasurer for the following funds during budget year 2021.
Council, I've received transfer requests from the police department and the fire department. The total transfers are $61,420. That is a total of $53,250 within the police department's budget, and that is a total of $8,170 within the fire department's budget. For the police department, there are various needs. We anticipate, because there's been a lot more overtime recently, there have also been some vehicle repairs and supplies needed, and Chief also has some equipment needs that he could discuss further. Fire department, we needed to move some things around for operating expenditures, some miscellaneous supplies here and there.
What are miscellaneous supplies? What does that mean?
What?
There were various
Wake up.
invoices. There were various invoices for, who is the one vendor? Emergency medical products, where they get their gloves, for stocking their ambulance, little things like that. We had, I think there was also, I'd have to pull them, but there were, my office received, quite a stack of invoices. That is all general miscellaneous supplies.
I appreciate the answer. I was just hoping to see if the chief had to say what miscellaneous supplies are.
There's so many miscellaneous supplies that they're kind of hard to name them all.
They're medical related, they're fire related?
Medical, gloves, toilet paper, toilet cleaning supplies.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, just all kinds of year-end stuff that needs to be moved around.
All right. And the equipment part of that transfer is a pretty big one, Chief.
Yeah, Council, so my Purpose behind this was we have some equipment that we need to purchase based on the new hires that we recently hired, some weaponry that we need to purchase. But the big purchase that I want to do out of here is we've been looking at the Vigilant system, which is a camera system that the county and several police departments have around the area. What it does is capture a license plate recognition. Its purpose behind that is an investigative tool. So if you have a vehicle that leaves an area and it might capture a partial plate, you can search for that vehicle to help for investigative purposes. It also constantly is scanning for stolen vehicles. This would not give us any cameras because those cameras are about $50,000 an intersection. But the county has 30 of them up. St. John has one. Crown Point's in the process of installing some. This would give us the access and the ability to actually search for them for investigative purposes. So originally we were just going to do the 1 year thing. When I requested the quote from him, I approached Jen with this. They actually took $5,000 off the quote and made it $14,500 to cover us for 5 full years. We wouldn't have to pay nothing for 5 years. So they took $5,000 off, and we would be able to purchase the accessibility for 5 years for $14,000. So there's just quite a few things that we would like to purchase to get caught up on. As far as the weaponry is concerned, we have to have extras in stock. If an officer is ever involved in an incident where he has to discharge his firearm, we have to take it from him. So we have to have extras there in case that happens. So plus with the new officers. So.
Good enough. You've heard Resolution 1292, some commentary by both chiefs. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 1292.
Motion by Ms. Stevens, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Sharp. Questions or discussion? Roll call.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Julia Rivera?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Colleen Scheven?
Yes.
Richard Sharp?
Yes.
Randy Neiman?
Yes, motion carries 7-0. New business, I would like to package these three all together, change orders. It all relates to the same intersection, so we have 133rd Avenue and King intersection project change orders number 1, 2, and 3. Change order number 1 is a total amount of $1,290. Change order number 2, I don't see a dollar amount on it.
2 and 3 is just time, an extension of time for the contract, Mr. President, due to supply chain issues.
So we have a total of $1,290 in change orders as well as extended time for supply chain issues for change orders 1, 2, and 3. Is there a motion by the council to approve as presented?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Carnahan, is there a second?
I'll second.
Go ahead, decide.
I'll second.
Okay. Second by Mr. Rivera. Questions or discussion? Roll call.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Julia Rivera?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Colleen Scheven?
Yes.
Richard Sharp?
Yes.
Randy Neiman?
Yes, motion carries 7-0. Item 4 is appointment of new member to redevelopment commission. We had Ms. Kovach, who had served us for several years on the RDC, had moved to Winfield. Recently, she resigned her post on the redevelopment commission. She did a fabulous job for us for the time she was here. She'll be missed. This position is an important one for somebody to step in that hopefully has some knowledge of how this all works, because there are so many projects, especially the Lake Eco Restoration, which is going to require about $3.5 million of TIP revenue bonds. Also several large infrastructure projects, facilities projects coming up. So this is going to be an important seat to have someone in there that understands all of this.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Greg Parker.
Motion to appoint Greg Parker by Mr. Carnahan. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Miller. Are there any other nominations?
I just have a question for you, not so much a nomination. Did we advertise or no?
Don't have to,
No, I understand.
is a vacancy
Right, okay.
created by a resignation.
Okay,
The advertisements are currently out for board and
For the
commission
new-
appointments for next year.
right, for the
So
new
this is a replacement.
2022, yep.
Any other nominations? Third call for nominations. Nominations are closed. We have a motion and a second for Greg Parker. Roll call vote.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Julia Rivera?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Colleen Scheven?
Yes.
Richard Sharp?
Yes.
Randy Neemeyer?
Yes, motion carries 7-0. And I have spoke with Mr. Parker about the possibility if he was to receive a favorable vote, and he is willing to serve, so. And he understands the material of a TIF district quite well.
Yes, he does.
Okay, reports, item 1, town council. We have the carry-on items, ordinance for collection of fire response fees, ambulance fees. Mr. Austin?
I have additional information from Chief Wilkening. I'm working on it. It is not done tonight.
Okay,
We will be working on it.
good, because it's included in our budget.
I'm reminded of that by Todd every time we talk.
Yeah.
And I'm making a lot of noise about it in my ear, so.
That's right. It's the only way to get you going.
I could start a fire somewhere.
If it don't get done, there'll be a fire.
Bob, do you have any reports?
No, other than, we've got, and I don't know if somebody's gonna announce about trunk or treat.
It'll be Colleen.
Yeah, we're having trunk or treat at the town grounds, October 30th from 11 to 3. This year we had gotten a grant, so we're going to have a DJ along with horse-drawn carriage, pumpkins, pumpkin painting, hot dogs and hot chocolate, and we're just looking forward to a good turnout. And hopefully
Last
we get
year
some more
was
donations
insane.
and some more volunteers to come and hand out candy.
I'll just say to anybody out there who's watching, if you're gonna participate, buy 10 times more candy than what you think you need. I'm serious. I went to Costco last year and I think I spent about $400 on candy and I had none.
Do we have a
left.
budget for candy?
I had to send my kids to the store, to
crazy.
the dollar store, we spent
What's
$300
going
on
on?
candy and distributed it.
Was that the ordinance? We
Mr.
discussed
President,
candy.
Ms. Stevens, did you speak with Margaret on volunteers?
I did, I believe there's 1 or 2 people that have volunteered from the town, and then we have, I think, 12 high school kids that
Yeah,
are
so I have,
volunteering.
there's actually 70 kids on this team that want to do some volunteer hours.
Yeah, they gotta get their hours.
Yeah, so I've been working with them, and I provided Margaret with her information to talk to you to find out how many you needed.
I honestly don't know, I had taken a guess about 12 might
Okay.
do it. I need, some kids to have waivers signed by the, horse wagon rides. I need help with the, pumpkin painting.
Okay.
Yeah, there's various things I'll need help
Yeah,
with.
I mean, they can bring as many as you need, because they want to get their hours in, so.
They wanna get- I mean,
I know
I-
there's like 72 of them, so.
Yeah, I don't know that we could use 72.
That's what I said, so we're actually got some park projects that we're gonna work on and
I mean,
clean some parks up that might need it, but.
I'd be willing to also maybe take some more and they can help clean up afterwards for any garbage that might be remaining or.
I gave Margaret the information
So
for
I
you,
can go
so.
back to her tomorrow, maybe ask for a few more that could come, the ones that aren't there during, maybe can come towards the end to help get things cleaned up.
And Pastor Ken from the Methodist Church has scheduled a trunk or treat on the same day, but it will start at 3 and end at 5.
How dare him? There's only room for one.
And also, Clea is having their fundraiser this Saturday
At the Eagle.
at the Eagles, and it's gonna be a costume, dance, and that all the money raised will go to help clean the lake. They are also raffling off a 2022 pontoon boat with a 90 horsepower motor on it.
Wow.
$100 tickets. $100 tickets, right, Ralph?
Yeah.
Bob, can I borrow $100? Voted against my raise tonight, so I figured we should probably get it.
So, as some of you know, we attended the AIM conference during the time which would have been our last council meeting. And, at that conference, Rick and I and, Julie and, who else? attended that on redistricting.
Colleen.
Colleen.
Yeah, Colleen was there, yeah.
We found out that under the statute, there's been some changes on the redistricting. We're required to do it next year. It was also expressed to us vehemently by the presenters that you hire a consultant. And the reason is because with the changes in statute and with the variances that we have to adhere to as it relates to our wards, the total aggregate among 7 wards cannot be more than 10% total of a variance. You cannot break up census blocks. So these things are very intricate now, and if you just kind of do this as it's been done in the past, kind of ad hoc, you could find yourself in the situation where you're challenged, and if you're challenged and you've done it in a manner without some professional influence, it's something that you could end up regretting. We have asked the consultant that we work with on a number of projects, Veritas, if they do that, and they do provide that type of service, it would be my belief that we need to look at what an engagement would be with them or somebody for this sort of undertaking, because there's been a lot of growth in our community, and it's going to create some pretty difficult boundary lines based on those variance tolerances. We don't quite have, although people make a lot of comments about the state redistricting, they follow a lot of the same rules when it comes to that. And if you look at their districts, they're very tight when it comes to population. So it's an intricate process. It's not as easy as it used to be. And
So are they gonna use census data?
Oh, yeah.
That's how this works?
yeah, it's all census data.
Right.
Mr. President,
Mr. Austin?
with all due respect to the 7 of you, I don't want to put one of you on the witness stand to talk about census stuff. It's better to have an expert.
And listening to the
Not even
presentation-
Bob, Mr. Usher?
No.
So what,
Bob knows sense as well.
so what these presenters stated was that, Bob, you form a community sort of committee, with people from kind of different stakeholders as part of that interact with the consultant.
Right.
And that way it has the total transparency of process to
Sure.
make it defensible. Now, they did say that you can, at the end of the day, the council adopts the ordinance. And the council can, and doesn't have to necessarily district an incumbent out. That's not something in the statute that is given any real guidance as it relates to that, and it's fair by the statute that if there's 2 people that would be put in the same district, you don't have to do that. Now, obviously, we hope that doesn't happen, but we've had it happen here before.
Yeah, we have, last time.
Yeah, it was Greg and Patsy ended up in the same district. Now, the statute has changed, and it allows for some consideration, but you gotta be really careful with it.
For sure.
You can't draw a bunch of crooked lines just to save a person, because at the end of the day, these council districts or boards belong to the people, so these aren't our seats, we don't own them.
Correct.
So I think that I'd like to see us engage in this process in January to get it done early, because the longer it drags out, the more it becomes an election issue.
For sure.
And I think it's better for everybody who's running, whether it's incumbents or people competing, is that if there's an election that's contested, that contested election can be based upon issues rather than redistricting. So I think this process can be done in a way that kind of takes that off of the ballot. So that was the report that I had from one of the main things from AIM. That was a really important one that we attended. Any other council reports?
I just did want to say to Chief Fisher too, while we were down there, that Dan and I attended a de-escalation seminar that was quite interesting. I don't know if you would have an interest in it. I did bring some literature back with me.
We're always
It was
interested.
Pretty intense and pretty
Yeah,
interesting.
we're required to, take de-escalation training every year.
Okay, well, it's pretty neat, and they have like 167 different scenarios that you, are simulated through,
Mhm.
with like 5 to 6 different outcomes for each person.
Sure.
So I'll give you the literature if you're interested.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah, and goes downtown.
Great point. Bill, you know, probably want to ask, Lexipol about how the integration of the new statute, plays with the existing, now approved SOPs.
Okay.
They'll send it to us.
Well, I know that the statute's simple, it's integration into the policy.
Are you talking about for de-escalation?
Yes.
Yeah, it's in policy already because it was in statute already. And actually, we just got an update from Lexipol a month ago of recommendations. It was very small to be modified. It was more verbiage than anything, so.
Yeah, I got you.
The AIM conference had a lot of very good educational opportunities there this year, so it was really productive to go there. Had a lot of really good discussions about some of the upcoming projects we have coming, including some of the facility projects, and we're hoping to put together a conference call on that in November to take the next step in strategy on how to lay the foundation, create kind of the outline of the steps we all have to take to do it. So that is definitely something that is going to move forward. We can't wait anymore. We're busting at the seams.
That's true.
Any other council reports? Town attorney? Clerk treasurer?
Council, I have one thing. I'm just looking for permission to move forward with something. After our last codification of our town code, American Legal Publishing always does that for us, and then they always give me an updated document. It's always in Word. It's not very easy to navigate, and our town code that is currently on our website is actually outdated. It's one of the old, I think it's a couple years old. We need to update it on our website. But the current Word document that American Legal gives you, it's not easy to navigate because they want you to go ahead with their folio views search and program they have. So I would like to go ahead and move forward with this with American Legal. It would make our code of ordinances online easy to navigate, easy for everybody to go through it. There's a one-time conversion fee of $795. There's an annual hosting fee. It's $295 for the first year and $495 annually. Thereafter, we should not need any support or on-site installation. I'm fairly certain our technology director can handle that. And then every time we do supplements to it, any supplemental pages are $1.95 each.
Where in our budget will we pay for this, Jen?
We have I might have to play with some stuff this year to do the one-time fee, but annually we have a maintenance agreement line item within the general fund, within council's budget, to pay the,
Would some of this just fall into like, good record keeping? Like, under your department is the keeper of the records?
Yes, but I mean, I could take the current large town code book we have and I could scan it in, but it'd be a PDF document that you're not gonna be able to
But even in a PDF, you can
navigate.
use Control F and search.
What I'm getting at
names,
is
it'll find
couldn't
it.
the clerk treasurer just like say, you know what, this is a good idea to update our records and just do it?
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I mean, I want to, I just want to make sure you all are good with me.
That's,
Nice courtesy.
no, I appreciate.
I would agree with
Thank you, David, I just wanted to be courteous
I
before I
appreciate
move
that, but
forward.
I don't want you to feel like you're hamstrung when it comes to providing the public with more transparency. I mean, that's kind of the goal of all of the record keeping, is to make it more accessible, so.
I will note that for the future.
Yeah, that's my view. If you're doing things that's going to improve the accessibility of government to people, you'll always have my support. Never have to wonder.
He's gonna run with that one now, just saying.
And to me, that might be something that we could just, once you formulate the financial strategy, put it on a docket and make it part of the consent agenda. That way it takes care of it. You
Okay.
are able to do what you need to do to keep the records the right way.
I will move forward with the session.
Awesome.
That's all.
That's a great thing. I'm glad that you're doing that. Town manager?
A couple of things real quick, Mr. President. We have a meeting tomorrow morning with Senator Niemeyer and representatives from the DNR for the LAIR grant related to the Lake Eco project. So I'll be reporting to you on that. Also, I sent this out in email, but the east side paving project is completed as of last Thursday or Friday, and the west side paving project should be getting started here pretty quickly, and will also be completed this calendar year.
Let me give a little kudos to you in your leadership of that, Rick. You haven't been around here that long, but some of these people, and I've received messages and phone calls, you can feel the emotion, right? They're so excited that they're not driving through massive potholes on the way back to their homes. We have a long ways to go still on some of those smaller streets, but the fact that we're able to plan and do these projects hopefully on a yearly basis and do it with cash, this is a really big deal. So kudos to you and your leadership on that, Rick. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Randy.
And all those roads are listed in our newsletter.
Yes, it's
Rick, I went
far overdue.
to Jim Kyleman's funeral today. I had 4 different people come up to me and thank me that those roads finally got done.
Yeah, I've been telling them all to reach out to Rick, because it was his, foresight and vision that really made this happen, so.
And I told Nick that you complimented him that he got his road done.
Nick, when you came here, you scolded us a couple of years ago.
And actually, there was 3 roads got done, actually.
Yep, you told us how irresponsible we were, and we took action.
Yeah.
Nick, I think thank you, Nick.
Mr. Chairman, I would just like to state that before the meeting, we were informed that a lifelong resident, Betty Becker, passed, so condolences to her family and prayers for them.
And Dan Becker used to be a Cedar Lake police officer, and he ended up leaving us and going to the Indiana State Police, which he's retired from now.
Thank you. Director of Operations is not present. I'll skip to Chief Wilkening.
Yeah, I got a few things. The renovation building work is gonna wind up down here probably next week with the main 2 projects done. There'll be another project being done in the back of the fire station with the volunteer group to renovate our actual training room. It turned out really nice. It looks really good. The guys and gals are very happy. This Saturday, there'll be a memorial service at Verdans for Rob Dowling. So if you see a lot of vehicles there and our fire truck with the American flag there, that's in honor of him. Since the actual budget's been approved, we're going to move forward with our one new hire. We're getting ready to go through the Public Safety Commission to do the interviewing process so that we can get this guy started at least in first of the year.
Wasn't there 2 new hires in that budget?
There's 2, but we were
We're gonna stagger
the second one once we get the ordinance done.
Very good.
Which will be done probably January 1, so we'll be able to hire him too. Right, Dave?
Anything you say, Pat.
It's all on you, baby.
Anything you say.
Notified recently that the UCAN helicopter will be now stationed in Gary, which is kind of an interesting thing because we periodically do use the actual helicopter from Chicago, one of the helicopters from Chicago, so it'll be way closer. It's kind of a good thing for Northwest Indiana.
We need to also reach out to the township trustee and, make sure we got all our ducks in a row for next year's contract for Hanover Township.
You want me to reach out to him?
No?
Okay.
I was just saying that in general, but I was looking at you.
Okay. I didn't wanna do it.
Rick,
Making a note.
Rick, could you reach out to Kevin and get some dates to see when we can, have a committee meeting and discuss the contract and then bring it to the council?
Yes.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Chief Fisher?
Sorry for that interruption. You got my,
You have emergency business to attend to, so.
these are my reports from September. You see we had 1,143 calls for the month. We issued 128 state citations, 181 warnings, 23 arrests, 54 total charges, 32 misdemeanors, 15 felonies, and 7 warrants. Total of 233 arrests for the year and 421 charges filed.
Thank you, Chief. I want to say to both of our public safety chiefs that while I can't speak for the entire council, there has never been any discussion that I've been a part of about any vaccine mandates for anybody. So, I'm not a believer in that type of stuff. If people want to get the vaccine, they should get it, and that's okay. But, to force a person to take medicine is very reminiscent of what came out of the Nuremberg trials. Not something that I think we need to practice here. So, let your people know that, let your people know that we support them and appreciate what they're doing for us. You hear of the defections nationwide of first responders who are just fed up. We hope that we have an environment here where people want to continue to respond to the call, because without it, it's going to be a pretty dangerous place to live.
Amen, Randy. Amen, Randy. Amen. Well said.
So, thank you, guys. Written communication, we have building department report. 289 new permits so far this year. 2, that's residential, 2 commercial. Total values of $64,649,657 residential, $21,235,510 commercial, 443 alterations for a total of $28,262,820 and 227 occupancies.
And we've already broke a record from last year to this year.
It's crazy stuff. J.B. Pritzker will get the U-Haul Salesman of the Year again, so congratulations to him. Item 2, Christopher Burke report. I believe that's just kind of a rundown of things we've already gone over. And we go to open public comment. Is the gentleman online? I will give him first crack.
Hello?
Yep.
You can hear me?
Yes, we hear you. Can you please state your name and address for the record?
David Novacell, 10805 West 134th Place, Cedar Lake, Indiana.
David, thank you for sticking with us. Go ahead.
I would like to ask the board to put a ban halting the ball fields from hosting large activities. Now, in the past, this board has had letters sent to them, the town or what have you. We've heard about all the problems that arise from such occasions. 2 years ago, the ball field sent us all letters stating they would handle these problems, yet none of them are getting handled. I emailed them back. They ignored me. Last Sunday, I actually met with the president. He told me he refuses and will not do anything about them. He said that it will be this board's responsibility to take care of this problem, and it's my fault for moving where I moved to. Now, when I moved in here back in '98, it wasn't what it is today. They're hosting activities that they have no parking for. They have absolutely no parking for what they are doing. I think before you allow them to continue on with this, they should come forward with a plan of attack on taking care of these problems. The problems I'm saying is there's property getting destroyed, not getting fixed. Just last week, the town property itself got destroyed. Now the taxpayers are gonna have to pay to fix it. That is the ball fields. They parked in the grass and there's big ruts in them. Now, the police department was called out there and wrote some citations supposedly. I can't verify that, but they did come out on a lot of parking violations. I don't know how else to handle this. Like I said, I went to him, I talked to him. This board has been talked about this situation. Is there something that this town can do to solve this problem once and for all?
David, you'll be pleased to know that part of our plans for big projects and some meetings we've got coming up shortly with some consultants to talk about this is that the town owns acreage south on Parish towards 155th, 114 acres. And we are looking to partner with local stakeholders that would include Little League and softball, as well as some private interests, to develop an athletic complex there that would have parking and good ingress and egress. We understand that the leagues have outgrown their facilities. Unfortunately, the town has no jurisdiction over the leagues. The only thing the town can do is what you said, which is citations for parking or destruction of property. So we're trying to take a proactive approach in working with people to develop a plan to build an athletic facility that can grow with the community. So while it's not an immediate resolution, it is something that we are working on as we speak and looking to get that first meeting together very soon to bring all the stakeholders into the room so we can start that process of building that complex.
David, I have a question for you. Who is the president you spoke to? And was it Little League or was it softball?
Softball. His name was Mark. He did not give me his last name.
Stinger.
Okay.
He knows many of you. He said he's talked to many of you. So we all know him. And he was not a pleasant gentleman to talk to by no means.
Well, we're looking forward to that gentleman coming to our meetings and giving input as we discuss how to develop this site for an athletic complex, because where it's located currently, and I played Little League baseball there myself, you're right, it's a lot different now than it was when you moved here in 1998. So we are working together to solve problems. Some of the challenges are obviously going to be is some people will have to kind of let go of the territorialism and really come together as a community to do something good for the kids, because usually the people that ruin the fun for the kids are adults. So hopefully as adults we can get together and do the right thing for the kids and the right thing for your neighbors.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, David.
Appreciate your input. Is there any other public comment? Ma'am? Name and address for the record, please.
My name is Heather Novosel. I live at 10805 Westerner Draper Place, Cedar Lake, Indiana. I have other things to add on to that. You say it's going to be a while for this complex. I'm wondering if there's anything we can do in the meantime. Temporary speed bumps. These people fly down a dead-end street. It's crazy. Maybe resident-only parking on the side of our streets. 134th, Osborne is completely congested with parked cars. We can't even get in and out of our driveways. They park in front of our mailboxes. We can't get our mail. It's really an issue. Something to at least slow the traffic down. It's really dangerous out there.
Can I address Chief Fisher?
Yes, you may.
Chief, what do you think? What's your ideas on how to help these folks?
Well, it's gonna be difficult because we've installed stop signs to alleviate speed of traffic on that entire road of Osborne to try to slow them down. But unfortunately, we can't be there all the time, so they don't necessarily stop all the time. I know that there's parking issues, but unfortunately, the parking is allowed on both sides of the road of Osborne, and then one side on 134th going into the softball fields. I don't know that speed bumps are the idea, but I know we will slow them down. Unfortunately, we can't have speed bumps on main roads because it damages the plow equipment when we're trying to open it up.
Well,
So
she
it'd
was
have to
saying
be something temporary, yeah.
Yeah, like during the season.
Because even when they did the roundabout, they put them over in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
I mean, just during the season.
No, that
That's a good
does make
idea.
sense.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
What about the rumble strips we have in
Those do
front of
nothing.
the
Yeah,
Dairy Bell?
there is
Yeah,
a
rumble
huge,
strips are, they don't do anything. They don't
there's
slow
a
traffic
huge
down.
divot in our road, and when they fly down, they bottom out. It's awful. It's a dead end. 134th is a dead end.
What about the
Ultimately-
parking in front of people's driveways or
They
mailboxes?
can't do that. If they're parking in front of the driveway, you need to let us
The
know.
mailboxes are the worst, but the police have already told us that them parking in front of our mailboxes, there's nothing they can do.
I don't believe there's anything we can do about mailbox
Right,
parking.
that's why
So you
we're
can
asking
keep
for
mail
maybe,
delivery?
No, but I don't believe that we can write against parking in front of mailboxes.
Right.
I'll have to research it myself, so.
Dave, what do you think?
I agree with, Chief Fisher, you can't enforce that.
that's why we
An
were
entry
asking
into
for
your
maybe
residence, we can't do
signs
something
for
for, but-
resident parking only. They were offered parking down on the corner of 133rd and Osborne, and nobody parked there. They all parked on our street.
Ultimately, it
There
comes
was-
down to this, the people that are running the tournaments are not running the tournaments properly, they're not pushing the cars elsewhere. They're in the middle of the fields, taking care of the fields and not
They're
paying
not
attention
even
to the
from
parks,
Cedar Lake.
so. Well, they're
This is
hosting
a rented
tournaments.
tournament.
Yeah.
They're running our softball fields to have these tournaments, and the guy who runs the softball field does nothing. I mean, I can go into other ordinances that they're breaking, you know, playing ball till after 11 o'clock. And that guy legitimately called Dave a liar. I have video of the traffic. I can start videoing these games that are going on all night. They are there at 6:30 in the morning mowing, so they can play ball.
What can we do about the destruction to our park
I was unaware of it.
from them parking?
Obviously,
on our-
I mean, when they have the tournaments, if we know about them, we can try to get some extra patrol there. And the council's doing a good job to try to give me more personnel, but it's difficult when we're, we went on
I understand
1,100
that.
calls last month alone.
I
talked about
understand that,
event
but like I
permitting.
said, if we could just at least alleviate
least knew what was
speeding,
going
that's
on.
the most
We
dangerous thing.
we have passed that around, actually talked with Rick about doing some kind of permitting for events, so that the police chief and the fire chief, I think we sent that to you about a month and a half ago, and the town manager are aware of what's going on and agree with it, basically sign off so that we're aware of it.
Can you look into the cost and installation for next season's spring and summer and fall leagues for softball and baseball of those temporary speed bumps?
The town actually already knows, but I think Tim, I can talk to Tim, yes.
Yeah,
Because I think we did it once already.
See what we can do to acquire those and then figure out what maybe the best placement of those might be, because I think that could definitely help with the speeding issue. And unfortunately, there's not a great resolution to
The parking,
them populating the area.
right.
The only resolution is for us to all work together and the town owns the land, so it's
Right.
just a matter of getting people to really earnestly come to the table and say, okay, we want to find a solution.
Right,
We want
there's
to do
supposed to
what's
be a
right.
few other people here tonight, but
Well,
The
let's-
destruction of the property that was stated, where did this happen?
we're,
Hanover
On the
Park.
park, I know where the park is. I'm talking about where on the
the
park.
field next to it. They park by that little, there's a little pavilion there,
Uh-huh.
and they park all in there, all in, over in that field.
Because
all
we did
next
have
to that.
some, at one point, we had some railroad ties, I think it was, that were up there.
Yeah,
So
there
they're
was
driving-
also no parking
Are they
sign there,
moving
but
them?
it's all disappeared.
No, there's a pretty large gap, Bill. I actually talked to Dale Gergel about this last week, and he had asked about us doing some fencing around the town-owned park land, because there was rutting of that area, because people were parking in there, and it had rained. And I went out and took a look at it, and he's right, and as David said in his comments, he's right, there's ruts in that town-owned property. We do have, they're like telephone poles, large poles that are around the border of the green space, but not completely enclosing it, so there's plenty of room for cars to get in and out of it. My suggestion would be either add some more barrier to that, or let's just pave it. Let's pave the more of the green space to provide more parking for what they do
But
have.
that's a public park.
It is.
And
That's town park, that's
It is.
not Little League field.
And one of the things that I've had brought to my attention, and I think people are right about, is that when there's a softball tournament or a Little League tournament, the fact that the public park becomes unusable because they're using it for parking is not right for the public either.
And they charge you to get in.
Yeah, so
Why
they're-
can't, why can't we put a fence up and use, parking taxis?
We can.
I don't disagree with that. I think that park should be public space, no matter what.
We can portion it off. We can
Yeah.
certainly block it off, yeah.
I would say, no, I get your point. I think putting a fence now compounds everyone else in the neighborhood, so until we have a plan of action for this new field of play, I would be against the
Well,
fence.
I certainly hope that people come to the table when we start these meetings envisioning this with an open mind and an idea to do this for children.
Yeah.
And get rid of, one of the things with organizations sometimes is people put a lot of time and effort into them, so they feel kind of an ownership of them, which I understand, but we gotta let go of that feeling.
If they had a tournament there and they parked on that land, then whichever, organization hosts that tournament, they should be liable for that.
Well,
Pretty
the
simple. If it
problem
was
is
a
they're
softball
renting it out
tournament-
to
If it was
other.
a softball tournament, then we should be going after the softball for them to fix the property.
But they don't come to us in the first place to ask for permission to park on the property.
Can't they shuttle
But they
people
don't
down to
actually
the
have
lot
to,
back
do
and
they?
forth? They got.
Not on the
park.
grass, I'm talking about the paved portion.
On the paved portion, no, but on the grass.
Yeah, the grass, they shouldn't even be asking, because they're not allowed, they should be
They're
allowed.
charging people.
Yeah, I mean, they're charging people
they're charging
to
people
park
to
at a
park
public
on
park.
No, they're charging people to get into the
Entry
ballpark.
fee.
No, they are charging them to park
Oh,
on both fields.
Okay, they can't do that, they can do it on their own property, I didn't know they were
They
charging for
sit at the
parking.
openings.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Come
it's
into
like
both
an
lots.
event here, okay, owned by the public. When Summerfest has their event, they seek permission from us to charge to park, which we give to them. And the same would have to happen for softball or Little League to charge to park, is we would have to say, okay, we check off on that.
They're not charging
wrote
to park,
them a
they're
letter.
charging to enter
No,
the
they're-
softball complex.
They're charging to park too. That's what we were told.
So we,
We're gonna get
first,
around
I
to
think
it.
the thing the council needs to do is start we need to get a form together that for every event that happens, they fill out just an event form, so that it
I
goes
agree.
around to all department heads. That way we know when those tournaments are going on, and I can get it out to my guys, to let them know, guys and gals, to let them know that this is happening.
Hey, Dave, you remember 2012? I introduced a special events ordinance that died. That
Well,
was
it's 21,
9
so
years
let's try it
ago, 10
again.
years ago.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Let's try it again.
So, no, I'm all for it.
Especially since we have so many more events going on now.
It's a worthwhile endeavor. I think the trick to it is we don't want to have people that are having a backyard barbecue having to get one of those permits, so you gotta use a little common sense.
Yeah.
But when you're having major events that's bringing in hundreds of people,
Yeah.
we've gotta find a way to differentiate
Especially if you're
between
charging.
somebody having a family reunion, right, and somebody having an actual event.
Or a graduation.
Well, we had this problem last year with the softball, and I went and personally met with the president of last year, and was told that this was not gonna happen again. Apparently, she's no longer the president, they got a new one in, and it's happening once again, so.
Okay? Well,
They had some obligations last year that they had to hold up to, and I understood that.
David, and what's your name again, ma'am?
Heather,
Heather,
Novasel.
thank you very much for
I just want to bring one more thing in.
bringing this to
I
us.
know, this is
No,
crazy.
listen, it's your time, go ahead.
They legitimately are renting the ball field out for weddings. It's a madhouse over there.
Well,
It's
I'm sure
pretty bad.
I'm sure they're trying to raise money like anybody
I
else.
understand, but
So-
we're the ones that are dealing with the late nights, so, but that's it, thank you.
Thank you very much, Heather.
Thank you.
For what?
Randy, real fast, the gentleman that was speaking online has his hand raised. But he's not muted, so if you have
David?
something more to add.
Do you have anything
Yes.
more to add?
Yes, I wanted to add, you had talked about paving. Now, just for your records, according to the state, that is recorded as a retention pond. So paving that, I do not see as an issue.
I agree.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, we don't really want to pave green space anyways, David. It was
Right.
just throwing around ideas here on how to alleviate a situation, but it's probably not the greatest resolution to put more blacktop.
Okay, and just one other item.
Yes, sir.
I went to Mark when they were parked there and told him that that was against the law. Told him the ordinance number. And he said, well, that's not my problem. I said, well, you're the one renting this out. It should be your problem. And he said it's not. So he was addressed by me on Sunday about them parking there and that it was illegal. And he refused to do anything about it, just so you know.
But yeah, he's charging for them to park.
Correct.
Okay.
But he won't tell them where to park. Just you park anywhere, just give me my money.
Okay, thank you.
I understand they gotta make money, I'm with you guys, but they can do it in different ways.
Thank you, David, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Is there any other public comments? Sir? By the way, like the hoodie.
No, you wouldn't if you knew where supply chain stood right now.
Well, I do, I own trucks, I have a trucking company, so, when we send a truck into a dealership to get fixed, we don't know when it's
I can
coming
get you one
back.
of these if you want one.
Your name and address for the record, please.
Dave McDaniel, 7129 West Vermillion. I met with Rick and Chief March, is that fair?
Several months ago, yeah.
Yeah. I have an easement issue. Chief said that, he was gonna have speed limit monitors put up.
We couldn't find a place for it.
For the record, my father passed away this year. One of his things was, your word is your word, so, right now, your word is nothing to me, so.
Well, okay.
For the record.
Okay.
So, Rick sent a letter out stating there's easement rights based off this deed book. I've spent hours with the county. I hired a title company to research it. That deed book does not exist. As a matter of fact, today I got, and I tried to meet you today, I got my transfer documents. There are no easement documents associated with my property. So, I need some help. I've been begging for it since March. I'm tired of being treated like, if you just go away, it'll disappear. I want something done, and I want it done now. So, I need some help. I don't know who I turn to, but I've tried to turn to these two. I've got nothing.
That is not true. I've reported to the council on this matter several times. It is, as Mr. McDaniel left in a profane-laced voicemail on my phone, it is a civil matter.
7 months later?
Between he and his neighbor, and yet he wants to turn to the town and have the town resolve this issue. Every document that I've seen indicates there is a legitimate access easement on that east side of his property, serving the two properties behind him. It is not the town's responsibility to chase this down anymore. I feel we've gone above and beyond trying to resolve this issue, and what I've found indicates there is an easement on that property.
Okay,
So
what he's found is it does not exist, so.
What I found exists, it's a platted.
It does not exist.
It's a platted, recorded subdivision.
It is
plat.
not recorded.
It isn't. McDaniel Edition is not a recorded plat. Is that what you're telling me? The
No,
one
it
that
is
came before the
recorded
Plan
plat.
Commission?
But that document does not exist.
That easement is shown on your
Does not.
recorded plat.
It does, it is shown on my
your
plat,
recorded plat.
which
That's what
you
I-
said, well, somebody said it exists.
It does exist.
It does not exist.
doesn't.
I spent 2 hours at the county today. It does not exist.
Dave, one of the things that's difficult in these sorts of situations for this board, the jurisdiction that we have is as a fiscal and legislative body of the town.
Okay.
And as far as property disputes, that stuff all runs through the county. We have zero jurisdiction over that.
Okay.
So this particular board.
So when I shut the road off tomorrow, and I'll take it up with the civil court, I don't wanna hear word from
And
the
I will be
sheriff's
there, I
department.
will be there to remove whatever you put out in front of it
Fine.
and take you to jail for it, because you can't
No,
do
you
that.
can't take me to
Yes, I
jail.
can, because we have to be able able to service the people behind your house with ambulance
Okay,
and fire.
whoa. So then, wait, based on what he just said, does the town not have to service that road? If you've got to, you better think twice about this, boys.
I didn't think it twice. Listen to me, sir. I told you once before in the office. If you block the road, we have to remove it because we have to be able to get back.
Hey, come on, let's come over, one at a time.
If
We don't need
emergency
arguments
vehicles
here.
have to get there, does the town, is there not an ordinance, a federal ordinance, that says you have to maintain that road? You better look it up.
I don't have to look anything up.
Okay, so you know better.
I don't have to. I know that we have to be able to take care of the people back there.
So then
Plain
you
and
should
simple,
be
you
servicing
can't
the
block the
road.
road.
Then you should be servicing the road.
I'm not servicing any road, but I know that that road has to stay open because there are 2 or 3 houses back there that have to be serviced. There's people back there.
So you guys might wanna get yourself together here. If that's the case, then you're responsible for maintaining that road. If emergency vehicles, Mr. Austin, you gotta get there, then your town's responsible for maintaining that road. Look it up, it's federal piece, so.
Okay, thanks, Dave.
So I'd like to know, how do I resolve this with you?
We can't resolve a property issue, that's not our jurisdiction.
Okay, well, then I'll take care of it.
Okay.
Thanks,
you, Dave.
Appreciate it.
That stuff is county and it's legal, so it's not, this board has no jurisdiction over that.
Fair enough.
Thank you, Dave.
Emergency roads, emergency vehicles need to get out, let them in, otherwise nobody gets in and out.
Thank you, Dave. Is there any other public comment?
Tell me about your word.
Any other public comment? Bill?
Because I told you at the house, in the office.
You don't need your crap. Everybody's gotta cool down here. Everybody had their say.
Mr. President, for my 2 cents, I do apologize for my emotion.
No, listen, it was fine, Rick, it was fine, it's okay. This is part of self-government.
You were stating what you had done.
Perfectly fine. People being passionate is part of it. It's all right. I've had that a few times myself, so.
Where?
I've never seen that.
So any other public comment?
Don't pretend like you were.
Okay. The next town council public meeting will be held November 2nd, 2021. Until that time, we are adjourned.